Alright, hey, how's it going? So this video is to help clear up some misconceptions about tricks of the trade in Naxxramas. Now, you hear a lot of people say that you're being selfish if you don't use tricks on your guildmates. And the reason for that is because it increases the raid DPS. But I want to go through some reasons why it's not selfish. So let's look at this. What does it mean to be a team player by casting tricks? Because they say, well, you're not being a team player. This is a team game, and you should be tricksing to help the team's performance, not your personal performance. And they also go on to say that you're only tricksing, or you're not tricksing because you care about your high score on a third-party website, right? Like, you care about your high score on some third-party website instead of helping your team. So the first thing I want to go through is the only thing tricks accomplishes is shortening the fight length. Okay, that's all it does. Nobody gets credit for that damage on any third-party website. The only thing it's doing by increasing raid DPS, the only thing that's doing is shortening the fight length. So what are the reasons you would want to shorten the fight length? Reason number one, close call support. This is when your guild is struggling on bosses and only killing them just barely, with many or most people dead. And every bit of damage that went out is crucially important so you could squeak out the kill. A very small subset of guilds require this support, if any. Wipes in Naxxramas are usually the failure of mechanics. And then you go back in and people do it properly and you kill it clean with no problems. Okay. It's not because a DPS check wasn't met, or because bosses are just so difficult that some people are just getting barely killing Patchwork because it was just such a DPS check. If you go in there and quest greens, if you know how to basically do your class, you should be able to kill it. So this reason doesn't really hold water. If you're in a guild that has this problem, you're in a very small subset of guilds that is struggling routinely to kill bosses and needs this, like, we need every little bit of damage because we're probably going to lose like 23 people and we're going to kill the boss with the tank and a healer. That's pretty rare. Speedrunning. Now, in a speedrunning guild trying for a world, region, or server-first speedrun of Naxx, 3 rogues casting tricks on every fight on a 7,000 DPS target shortens the entire raid by 6 seconds. Or 0.381 for one fight. Literally a fraction of a second for 3 rogues casting tricks on a 7,000 DPS target, which is like a 40 to 50,000 tricks for every rogue. It's pretty high. Typically, you're going to get maybe 30 to 40. Sometimes you can get up to 60. There's some pretty bonkers ones. And I'm not counting Thaddeus or Lotheb. Any fight that has any kind of crazy gimmick, like Lotheb's giving you 50% crit or something like that, that'll change things. But on a regular fight, it's going to shorten your entire raid night by 6 seconds. Okay, very few guilds are trying for a server, world, or region first speedrun kill. If they are, tricks matters, but very few guilds are trying to do this. A lot of guilds would like to finish the raid quicker, right? Like, they may not be speedrunning, but we'd like to get out of here sooner rather than later, right? Like, we don't want to be here longer than we have to. A lot of times it's not about can we do this, it's can we do this efficiently. Okay, if you're asking your rogue to cast tricks because you want to get out of the raid 6 seconds quicker, that's not reasonable. And I don't think many people are doing that. But there's a third reason. To help your guildmates parse. By shortening the fight length, the overall raid DPS is higher. Therefore, many or most of your guild members will parse higher. Some will actually lose DPS because they didn't have that 0.381 seconds to get in a crazy, land an arcane blast, or sometimes even just a deep wounds proc. Tick can be enough if they get it just, at the end. It can actually be a DPS loss if the fight were shorter by just a little bit. But that applies to any kind of damage increasing ability. So I'm not going to include that. So this reason right here is exclusively, almost exclusively, the only reason to cast Tricks of the Trade is to help your other guildmates parse. So therefore, when people say rogues are being selfish by not casting tricks because they just want to get a high number on a third-party website, casting tricks is then done so that the rogue's teammates can get a higher number on a third-party website. So it's not selfish to not want to cast tricks. The people saying that you're being selfish are just saying that because they want to get a high number on either they want to get a high number on the third-party website, or they don't really understand what Tricks is actually doing for them. This is pretty much the only thing it's accomplishing, unless you are a speedrunning guild where 6 seconds matters. You are going for like the first place, and 6 seconds could be the difference. Very few guilds are trying to do that. Or if you're just struggling and every other fight every week, you're barely killing bosses with like 2 people left alive. Very few guilds are struggling in that way. So I just wanted to clear things up. It's not selfish to not be tricksing. Basically, you're just helping other people on your team to parse, which is the reason they say you're selfish for not casting it. So don't worry about it. It's not selfish. It's just the way it is. So hopefully I've cleared up some confusion.